What's up, guys? I'm Max Mesman, and this is the brand new Game Time podcast. Join the three guys from Auburn as we talk about all things sports, from predictions to reactions. There's something in store for everyone, so enjoy the episode. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Game Time Talk Show. I'm your host, Max Mesman. I'm joined by my co-host, Reese Kinder. Not Taylor today. Taylor's actually at a concert right now. Yeah, I know. Just couldn't be here. Just took the concert over the sports, but not. We love Taylor. He's best editor on YouTube right now, edits the show. But with that being said, we're going to go and get started off with some weekend preview, actually. So if y'all are new to the show, on Wednesdays we release our reaction episode to the past weekend of sports. And then on Thursdays, we release our preview episode to the upcoming weekend of sports. And we're going to actually preview two games from both college football and NFL. And let's go ahead and get into it. And we're going to actually start with NFL here. And I actually want to start with the game that's going to be, whenever y'all are listening to this tonight, the Buffalo Bills at the Miami Dolphins. Now, this is that AFC East clash. And by the way, we're not going to pick the games until the very end of the episode. But we're going to go and preview them, just some keys to the game. Reese, I mean, this is a big game for both teams early on. A AFC East rivalry, I would say, the Dolphins and the Bills. What do you think are some keys to the game for both the Bills and the Dolphins to try and come out of this victorious?
I mean, first I'm going to start with the Bills. Honestly, the Bills last week kind of surprised me with the way they were able to, I've never heard of some of these guys like, Hollins for the Bills, their wide receiver. I've never heard of him until like last week when he caught that touchdown pass. And I mean, honestly, if Josh Allen can run the ball like he was last week and find those open people, I know Keon Coleman got 4 receptions last week for 95 yards. So if he can just do that, I think the Bills could possibly win this game with a high-powered Dolphins offense who, I mean, going into the Dolphins too, I mean, last week did only win by a field goal, won 20-17, and you guys were saying in the fantasy group chat, we have a little 20-man fantasy group chat, you guys were saying that the Dolphins did not deserve to win the game. But, I mean, honestly, Tua looked really good. He looked like he was able to find his receivers, and then that 80-yard touchdown pass that Tyreek Hill had was insane. So, I mean, honestly, for both of these teams, it's just keep your offense in check and hope your defense can just stop somebody because it's going to be a high scoring battle between these two AFC East opponents.
Yeah, right now the line for over-under for this game is 50.5, so pretty high over-under, I would say. So, I absolutely agree with you on everything you just said there. I mean, these are two teams. I'm not going to lie. We're not picking till the end of the episode here, but the Bills I was not impressed with last week. I'm not going to lie. A lot of people are saying, oh, the Cardinals are like better this year. The Cardinals probably played their worst game that they're going to play all season, and here's why. Marvin Harrison Jr., their rookie receiver, that is their wide receiver one. You look at all their depth charts. You listen to their coach talk in interviews. Marvin Harrison Jr. is their wide receiver one, their go-to guy. He had one catch for 4 yards. I know you know that because you have him in fantasy.
Yep, almost
So
almost lost because of you, Marvin Harrison. So,
exactly. Now he's benched. Now he's benched on your team at least. I don't
yep.
know about the Cardinals, but the Dolphins, you can say what you will about, oh, they played like shit the entire game, but then were able to pull it out at the end,
They're still good. Like they're still going to be good.
Yeah, exactly. And they still won. And I think the Jags are much better than the Cardinals.
Yeah, I mean
I
the
don't think that's a
Cardinals.
crazy take at all.
The
So,
Cardinals. I mean, like nobody expected that to even like be close between the Cardinals and
exactly.
Bills. I think
Exactly.
when we picked that the week before the episode we didn't get to record, I thought we picked that game and we said like that was going to be a blowout and we thought it was just going to be the Bills offense, but the Bills, honestly, the only thing that won the Bills the game was Josh Allen running the football.
Yeah, no, single-handedly. I mean, he had 18 for 23, 232 yards, 2 touchdowns. But I'll end our preview for this specific game with this. I think the ultimate decider in this game, you look at these two QBs, Tua versus Josh Allen. Tua, absolutely electric through the air, and Josh Allen can make a little stuff happen with his legs. Also through the air with his legs. You saw that jump into the end zone against the Cardinals. But I think the ultimate difference maker in this game will be the defense. I think
Yeah,
I think everybody's looking at these two high-powered offenses. Which defense is going to make a play? Which defense is going to cause a turnover first? Because neither of these quarterbacks really turned the ball over at all last game.
yeah,
So I think it's up to the defenses. And honestly, I would lean towards the Dolphins. I'm gonna reveal who I think is gonna win this game at the end of the show. But I would lean towards the Dolphins because you saw last week what was the reason they beat Jacksonville. That strip fumble near the goal line for Travis Etienne, which was a 17-point swing.
yeah.
So I think it'll come down to the defense for this one, but it is a must-watch game, 7:15 tonight on Prime Video. And now the other game I would like to break down in the NFL, as much as I would love to do the Saints and Cowboys, wearing the Alvin Kamara jersey. I don't want to be too biased, when talking about this game, so we're going to save that for rapid fire. But I do want to talk about the Sunday night football game, the Bears at the Texans.
Ooh.
I think this is a very interesting matchup. Caleb Williams, say what you will about him painting his nails and all that, he's zesty or whatever. But he he ended up manning up even though he doesn't act like a man sometimes, he ended up manning up at the end of that game against the Titans. He led one drive, and that's what it comes down to a lot of these games, especially how close the NFL is, how much parity there is. It oftentimes comes down to one drive in the game. And what did he do? He showed out on that one drive. Didn't really show out much of the rest of the game, though. 14 for 29, 93 yards. CJ Stroud looked like CJ Stroud. This Texans defense, though, I do want to talk about that. Say what you will about the Colts. I think they're going to be a good team. I don't think they're going to be a great team, when it's all said and done. I don't think the Colts are going to be one of those teams that you're looking at in January and being like, oh, this is a team that could make a run at the Super Bowl and stuff like that. So, but I do think that was a good matchup for the Texans because I saw a lot of things that they can fix. But ultimately, in this game, what do you think it will come down to? Will it be the rookie Caleb Williams coming out on top? Or don't say who you think is going to come out on top, but what are the keys to this game for both of these rookie quarterbacks or young quarterbacks to come out with a victory?
I mean, CJ Stroud, to be honest, he's already proved to me that he's definitely gonna be. I think might be this might be just far down the road take, but I just do think CJ Stroud has a chance to be a Hall of Famer with the career he's already started off with. And I think this game, honestly, I would like to say the Bears defense could hold them under like 24, but their offense last week was just insane. And I don't think the Bears will be able to do that. And I feel like Stroud will be able to, command his offense under pressure and just find ways to get the ball to Diggs and Mixon and also some of those other guys. I mean, obviously Dalton Schultz probably is not going to play. Sad news for my fantasy team, but um, anyhow, I do think I do think that what's going to happen is Stroud's just able to command his offense. But on the Bears side of things, I would like to see a good game from Caleb Williams. I wouldn't like to see, 73 passing yards and an interception from him. I would
Yeah.
rather see maybe 130 to 200 passing yards with like maybe a touchdown pass or two. And I mean, if that happens, then if they lose, I hope it's close. And if it's like really close, then I would say the Bears have a great chance at like making the playoffs this season. We could see them in January possibly.
Wow, a lot of hot takes right there. Looking at the future and stuff. But I do think this is a huge game for the Bears in this one, and ultimately the X factors for both these teams. I would say for the Bears, Caleb Williams has to get a rhythm and get a rhythm early. If they're able to get to Caleb Williams and stuff, what do rookie QBs do a lot of times, especially in primetime games like these? They turn the ball over. The
Bryce Young,
Bears,
for example,
yeah,
last week against the Saints turned the ball over multiple times. So just
exactly. So
yeah,
yeah, I mean, it's a lot of times for these QBs, and I think that the Bears the Bears turn the ball over more than 2 times on offense, they're cooked. There's no way that they win this game.
Yeah,
They just do not.
he's got the receiving core to do it. So
Exactly. Now, Rome Odunze, I think that because I'm pretty sure he's injured and not going to play this game. Right now, it also has Keenan Allen listed as questionable. So I think
he's fine though. It says he practiced. He
okay.
didn't practice today, but they said he probably will play.
Gotcha. So, but ultimately, and then if you're the Texans, I think that on defense, I think you gotta. It's the same. It's like the opposite. It's the opposite. It's a double-edged sword. For the Bears, you got to protect Caleb Williams, be able to be sure that he's comfortable in a hostile environment. And then if you're the Texans, you need to rough him up. You need to get to him and get to him early. And I think they will be able to do so. But enough with the NFL. Let's move to college football, and I want to preview the game day game this week. A lot of people, aren't excited for this game. I think it'll be a good game. South Carolina 2-0, coming off a big blowout win over the Kentucky Wildcats. And now I do think two things can be true at once. A lot of people have been asking, oh, was that blowout more telling that Kentucky is a bad team or more telling that South Carolina is a good team? I think it's a little bit of both. I do think Kentucky is not very good. I don't think that they're going to be very good this season. But at the same time, I think South Carolina has the potential to perform very well because South Carolina's defense in that game was stellar. Their offense was kind of choppy at times, but their defense was stellar. Dylan Stewart, their freshman defensive end, that dude's a dog. All right, that 5-star dude, he's a dog. But then you got LSU coming into this game, number 16, 1-1 in the country. Right now, they have LSU as a 7-point favorite coming into this game. But I'll tell you what, man, that South Carolina Gamecock Stadium. I don't know for any of y'all that haven't been. I've been once when Auburn played. I went to the game. I think where TJ Finley was starting at QB, and I'll tell you what, that environment. That was a game that a lot of people think, oh, didn't matter, and that's a lot of South Carolina's games last couple of years. But that stadium is always rocking, and it's sold out this week. It's a noon kickoff, so that means right after College Game Day, all those students are going to be heading from College Game Day directly into the stadium to be seeing their Gamecocks play. Ultimately, what are your biggest players to watch as well as X factors in this game to see whether or not the Tigers or the Gamecocks come out on top?
I mean, to be honest, in this game, I do think I do think LSU, we saw them against USC. We saw them kind of struggle a little bit. I do think this will be a defensive game. I do think this will be a low scoring defensive battle. I don't know if it's going to rain because, there is a tropical storm, now a hurricane that is moving across the south. So I don't know if that's going to reach South Carolina. It might not. I could be wrong, but I do think this will be a defensive battle. And I honestly think that this game is just like South Carolina. It's going to come down to can Sellers, manage his offense in some big situations, say like these 3rd and 5s and stuff, and you're down by like 7, stuff like that. And I mean, if Sellers can do that and the defense for South Carolina can just, get those stops like they did last week against Kentucky, get the interceptions and stuff like that, I think you'll see South Carolina possibly get a big win and possibly be a favorite to maybe win the SEC with 2 SEC wins.
Wow, wow, okay. I wouldn't go that far for South Carolina. I'm gonna be
I
quite
don't.
honest
The
with
schedule is pretty tough,
you.
but
Yeah.
they do have some. They have Oklahoma at home. They
hmm
have Bama at Bama, and Bama. If you play them right, you could beat them.
I mean,
And
that is true. USF did reveal the book on the Crimson Tide.
yeah,
So
and then I don't know who else they have, but I know after that they do have. I think they have Georgia. I could be wrong. Let me look real quick. I think they have Georgia on their schedule.
anyways, either way, while you look at that, either way, I think LSU what? Anyways, no, LSU, I'll be honest with you. The reason why I said that was kind of overstepping what you just said is because LSU, I'm not gonna lie, hasn't impressed me so far at all this season.
No.
Like let's look at what they've done. They lost to USC, who I think USC is a good team. I think they have a chance to be the third best team in the Big Ten, but they still lost to them. and then Nicole's, who they played last week, I think they won 42-21, but
Yeah,
it wasn't
they were only up by two at halftime and
exactly.
wasn't
It
looking
wasn't
because the only thing that made the difference in the game was the safety. They had a safety.
exactly. So it wasn't pretty. And you look at LSU's running game has just been non-existent, which is really weird to say because you remember the days where they had like Leonard Fournette and all those other different running backs, Darius Guice,
Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
yeah, exactly. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, all those dominant running backs. It's just so weird seeing LSU not have a workhorse back that's just taking the load over. Right now, their leading rusher is Emery Jr., and he has 10 carries for 61 yards through 2 games. That's not going to cut it against the South Carolina team. I'll tell you what, if LSU is unable to run that ball and they become one dimensional and all they're doing is throwing the ball, this South Carolina defense is going to get some picks. All right,
Yeah.
they did it against Kentucky, and even though that Old Dominion game was close, that was the difference in that game. South Carolina forced multiple turnovers. So I think really the keys for the game is LSU. You need to be able to run the ball because not only that, not just because you need to keep South Carolina's defense honest, but Garrett Nussmeier, as soon as you show you can't get past the line of scrimmage running the ball, they're going to be loading that box to try and get to Nussmeier and daring you to throw it.
I mean,
And
look,
yeah,
earlier I was talking about their schedule. If they win this LSU game, they could be 4-0 going into Ole Miss at home. They play Ole Miss at home after Akron.
yeah,
So this would be big for a South Carolina program who, after Akron, they have at home against Ole Miss and then Bama and then at Oklahoma. It was my mistake. I thought they were away, or I thought they were at home for Oklahoma. But
mm-hmm.
they play Texas A&M at home, and then you got Vanderbilt, Missouri, and Walford and Clemson. So this South Carolina team has this favorable schedule on their side, except that middle of the part of the schedule.
Yeah. But all I'll say is, LSU, you need to be able to run the ball, and then South Carolina. I agree with what you said about Sellers. A young guy, he shows promise, but there are times where he will tend to overthrow his receivers. So you
Yeah.
need to get him comfortable early. And then another game I want to break down is actually Kansas State and Arizona. This is actually a Friday game. Not only because it's a ranked versus ranked matchup, but this is also a Big 12 conference game, for both these teams. And so I think this will be. I feel like we can agree that Utah right now is the front runner in the Big 12 after Kansas lost. I
Utah
think,
might go 12-0.
yeah, exactly. So, but you're speaking about there's got to be a team to play them in the championship, and if you win the championship, no matter what your record is, you're going to the playoffs in the Big 12. And so with Kansas losing, this game is really for second place in the Big 12 if you really think about it. So that being said, let's go ahead and break this game down. Arizona coming to this game ranked number 20 in the nation, 2-0, whereas Kansas State is ranked 14th, also 2-0, and this is in Manhattan, Kansas. Kansas State is actually a 7-point favorite going into this game. You look at some of the star players on both these teams: Noah Fafita, Quayle Conley, T Mac, Tedera McMillan, and then you look on the other side, Kansas State. You got Avery Johnson, DJ Giddens, and then I honestly don't know much of their receivers, but I know their defense is lethal. What are some of the things that you're going to look out for in this game between the Wildcats and the Wildcats?
I mean, honestly, this is going to be a high scoring matchup because these are two Big 12 teams. Big 12, not known for much defense at all. Both of these teams coming off scares last week. Arizona at home against Northern Arizona only won 22-10. We mentioned that on last episode. And then, Kansas State only won 34-27 at Tulane, which Tulane is a good team, but still, Kansas State, little bit of a scare there. But honestly, I mean, for this Kansas State team, it just comes down to one thing. It comes down to can Avery Johnson find those receivers and just, maintain a good offense and, get his offense down the field really quick and score. And then also, if when it comes to Arizona, can Arizona get it to McMillan and, be able to score, because like I said, this is going to be back and forth scoring. Like, I don't think there might be two defensive stops in this game for maybe both teams. Like, both teams apiece will have one defensive stop. And I just feel like this game's going to be very high scoring. I do feel like the line is a little bit of a stretch. I feel like it's going to be a lot closer than that. But honestly, though, if Kansas State If Johnson can maintain a high-powered offense and they can just get the ball downfield quickly, I think Kansas State could possibly win this game. And if Arizona can get the ball to McMillan, I think they have a great chance of winning this game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. I mean, both these teams faced a test last week. Arizona kind of unexpectedly, going against Northern Arizona, a game that they were heavily favored to win, especially after coming off a game where they scored 61 points against New Mexico. I don't care who you're playing, that's impressive. And then Kansas State facing what I still think is a very good Tulane team who don't be surprised if they run the rest of their schedule and are in that playoff conversation after they
Oklahoma's
win.
next, so who knows?
Yeah. I mean, they got a big game this weekend, and I'll tell you what. Don't be surprised if you're tuning in on ESPN and you see, oh, it's the fourth quarter and Tulane is within one possession of Oklahoma. Trust me, I watched them play the Wildcats, and I watched them do the exact same thing this weekend. But speaking of which, at the end of the day, when you go into those tough environments and those tough games, I'm always impressed no matter how difficult the game is, no matter how sloppy you play. If you come out with the win, a win is a win. I'm actually more impressed if you're playing not say you're not playing your best football, but you still come out with the win. I'm actually more impressed by that because that shows me, okay, what will you do when you play your best? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that being said, I was very impressed with Kansas State last week, and I thought that Tulane was going to outright win that game at halftime
I
when they
think
were
we
down.
all I think we all did, honestly.
Yeah, I mean Tulane literally had them doubled up in points, and it wasn't a close game at all. Tulane was dominant that first half, and Kansas State came out in the second half and said, "Hey, we're the better team. We're going to play smash mouth football, run it with DJ Giddens, run it with Avery Johnson, and then oh shoot, now we're doing all those runs. We're going to do play action bootleg, and then we're going to have a wheel route by the running back go down the sideline for 40 yards." And so I think this will be a very offensive game, like you said, and then what happens when we go into a game where there's two heavy offenses? Which one has the edge on defense? Right now, I would have to lean Kansas State.
Yeah, because
I
they
feel
showed it last week.
yeah, they showed it last week against a well opponent. Arizona, they did hold Northern Arizona to 10 points, which, I mean, holding any team in this day and age of football to 10 points or lower is also pretty good, especially if you're in a game where Northern Arizona actually had a chance to win come the fourth quarter and you were still able to buckle down. But ultimately, if you're Arizona, you got to get it to McMillan more than you did last game because you saw what happened when they got it to him in the New Mexico game. I mean, you went for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. So I think if you're Arizona, you need to get it to your playmakers, get it to McMillan. Fafita's got to use his legs sometimes. They got a really good running back as well. And then if you're the Kansas State Wildcats, I think Avery Johnson is going to need to have at least 50 plus rushing yards and 200 plus passing yards in this game and limit the turnovers. Avery Johnson is a very young quarterback. He has a lot of untapped potential, and I believe he could be a Sunday starter. But he sometimes does tend to get a little excited. And, as soon as he sees one rusher in his face, he's automatically leaving the pocket. He's going to need to stand in there and make some throws. But ultimately, this is going to be a great Friday night lights football matchup on Fox tomorrow at 7. But now, with that being said, we are going to move into Reese, your segment, and this is going to be in the NFL side of things. Give us the fantasy breakdown.
This is Fantasy Breakdown with your host, Reese Kinder.
Well, last time, oh, sorry, I'm sick. Can't hardly breathe. But last time we did fantasy breakdown, I'm pretty sure we went over, I think it was I think it was like rookies actually.
Or
Yeah.
no, it's year two. Year two
Oh yeah,
players.
your two
Yeah.
players. That segment didn't age well. Will Levis,
I
honestly,
told you. I told you, man.
did
I
not
said,
age well. But this
yeah.
week, we're breaking down the players of the week recap, the top 5 players I saw that played the best. And I'm going to get it started with my king, my glorious king, J.K.
Oh,
Dobbins. He
goodness.
carried my fantasy team to victory. I love J.K. Dobbins. He's so amazing. But anyways, let's get into that stat line for Mr. J.K. Dobbins. He had 10 carries, 135 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown. And then in the catching side of things, in the reception side of things, he had 3 targets, 3 catches, 4 receiving yards, and his longest runs were 12, 46, and 61. I was jumping up and down on that 61-yard touch or on that 61-yard run because I knew I won the game. And I mean, J.K. Dobbins, this guy outstanding, 22 points. I think it was 22 points in fantasy this week. It might have been 22.9, but outstanding job from Mr. J.K. Dobbins. We didn't really know what to expect from him coming in with the back from the Achilles injury, and he definitely just performed so great. And I mean, next week you got to get this guy. If he's not on your team next week, you got to get him because they're playing the Panthers, the worst defense in the National Football League. So he definitely is going to get like 50 fantasy points. But Max, what did you see from Dobbins?
Well, first of all, who traded him to you? All right, so you're welcome. You're welcome. All right, but also, so since this is the prediction episode, do you want me to yeah, I think he did good. Are you asking me will he continue that next week or?
Yeah. Yeah. Just
Okay.
like every single one that comes up, just like we're gonna see what they're gonna possibly do next week with the teams they're playing.
Yeah, so I think he absolutely performed stellar. And I think I said this when we were doing not last week's episode, but 2 weeks ago when we did bounce back players or something like that. I remember we did one of those. I don't know if it ended up being posted, but I remember we did bounce back players, and he was one of the guys that I was like, yeah, I think this is a guy that can 100% bounce back. Is because J.K. Dobbins, and I think anybody that watches any type of football knows how good this guy is. I mean, he was lethal at Ohio State. Really just been injuries. And you look at it, I don't think he's as good as Christian McCaffrey. But
No.
you look at his career, it's kind of oddly similar. I mean, Christian McCaffrey is a guy with, endless potential in the running and the passing game, and was finally able to tap into it with San Fran because he didn't have any injuries. Christian McCaffrey a couple years ago, yes, everybody knew how good he was, but nobody would pick him in fantasy. Why? Because he could always get injured, and towards the end of the season, you knew you weren't going to have Christian McCaffrey because he was going to get injured. J.K. Dobbins, great first week. We need to see you stay healthy because this is a guy that not only in fantasy can be great, but if you're the Chargers, I mean, you look at him and Gus Edwards, that might be one of the best 1-2 punches that nobody's talking about in the
Yeah.
league. And so, yeah, I think this is a guy that you definitely need to pick up now or trade for if you don't got a great running back. But I think he'll have a great week against the Panthers, and I think he's a must start as a running back too, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that was a great first guy there, Love my man J.K. Dobbins. Hopefully this upcoming week against the Panthers. I want the Panthers to win, but I still want J.K. to get, 40 fantasy points. But yeah, the next guy we're gonna go into, this guy was kind of surprised. He was definitely a surprise, I think, for a lot of people. And it's Mr. Sam Darnold. I mean,
Yeah.
Sam Darnold looked so poised for that first game against the Giants. He went 13 for 14 in the first half. And I
I
mean,
think he went 13 for his first 13 too, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah.
He started out the
He
game
was like the last play of the first half, he threw an incomplete pass.
exactly.
And I mean, this man, he ended up 19 for 24 on the game, and he had a 79.2 completion rate, and he had 208 passing yards, 2 touchdown passes. The interception, whatever, that's fine. He still won the game 28-6. And I mean, this guy, Sam Darnold, if he keeps this up, he's definitely looking for a breakout season in fantasy this year. And I mean, Max, what did you think about Sam Darnold this Sunday?
Do not start Sam Darnold. Don't start him. At least not this week. Because who do they play this week, Reese? Who do they play?
The Vikings play.
Francisco, the 49ers. He does not stand a chance this week.
I
All
hope
right.
I hope they beat him so Jordan Mason gets 0 fantasy points.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. By the way, Jordan Mason about to have the best week of his career. I know you just did it against New York. Gonna do it again, but anyways, had to shout him out because I had to bench Christian McCaffrey into one of my leagues and then pick him up off waivers. But no, I think Sam Darnold, for who Sam Darnold has been, a lot of people are saying that this is gonna be the next Baker Mayfield situation because Baker Mayfield last year, if you don't remember, Baker Mayfield signed a minimum contract with the Buccaneers, a 1-year deal for the minimum amount with the Buccaneers. And he ended up getting the start because the Buccaneers really didn't have anybody else after Tom Brady retired. And so, and then he got the start, and everybody was like, oh, there's no way. Like, the Buccaneers are going to be starting Kyle Trask by week 6, and, the Buccaneers are going to suck. Turns out, Buccaneers not only won their division, but Baker Mayfield was probably the best QB in that division easily, and one of the best QBs in the NFC. And so people are comparing this to that. I think at the end, if we're talking fantasy, I think he ended up having like 15 points. I don't think it was anything like super crazy. And that's just because he doesn't run the ball. Like, he doesn't run. Like, if we're going to talk about it, let's talk about it. If you're a QB right now in fantasy and you don't run the ball at all, you better not throw any picks. Because if you throw any picks, you might as well not start that quarterback, because you need to be able to run the ball in today's NFL. And also, he threw 2 touchdowns, which is good, but 208 yards, like, for a guy pass heavy offense, and he a primary just pocket passer, we got to see a little more than that. I do like the pick in terms of who Sam Darnold has been. This is a great comeback story. He does end up having a breakout season. And, I mean, you look at who he has on the outside, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, all these guys, you kind of expect him to, like, any QB in that system to really do pretty good. But ultimately, I think Sam Darnold, you need to wait on him this week just because of who he's going up against. But if he performs against the 49ers this week and Minnesota comes out and wins that game, I'll tell you what, Sam Darnold is a guy that people are going to be picking up fast.
Yeah, I don't know who has him in our 20-man league, but definitely Sam Darnold, guy to look out for this season, could possibly have a breakout season. And this next guy I'm going to highlight, this guy, I don't think anybody expected this either. It's Mr. Jameson Williams from the Detroit Lions. He had a tough start to his career. Williams has so much to prove in his 3rd year after being the first-round pick. His rookie season, ACL tear, and then he got suspended last year for a little bit, and then he even struggled after a while from returning. So it's nice to see Williams break out for 24 fantasy points. Williams, made his presence known by catching the deep pass. And, I mean, he was just insane on Sunday Night Football. He had 5 receptions, 121 receiving yards, 24 yards per reception, 1 touchdown, 1 run for 13 yards. And, I mean, Williams was just all over the place. He was on my team before, but I did trade him. Good luck on your next team, Jameson Williams. I'm sorry. I had to, go separate ways. But, yeah, Max, I mean, what do you think about Jameson Williams and this young wide receiver core?
Great pick here, Jameson Williams. This is another guy like J.K. Dobbins. Everybody knows that if this guy isn't injured, he is electric. He is electric. He's not just good on the football field. He's not just great. He is electric. And he's one of those players where, I saw actually earlier this summer where he did an interview and people were asking him, like, what are your goals this year? Being healthy for the first time on day one for the Lions. What are your goals? And he said, to be honest with you, I want to lead the NFL in receiving yards and touchdowns. And a lot of people laughed at him for it. They were like, did you forget that St. Brown's on your team? I'll tell you what, if you were somebody that had just woken up from a coma and it was your first day watching the Lions, you would have thought, man, this guy number 9, he's got to be their number 1 receiver, possibly one of the best in the NFL, because that's the way he performed. 5 catches for 121 yards, 1 touchdown. He also had 13 yards on the ground. So do I think this is is this going to be consistent from JMO? I mean, we'll just have to see. It's the same with JK because, both these players, because they play so free on the football field, they are always, injury concerned, I would say, and I'm even seeing it right now. Williams is questionable. He practiced at a limited capacity Wednesday due to an ankle injury. So, but I think, yeah, Jameson Williams, shout out to you because you were the breakout guy in our league in terms of like who was on the bench and had the best game. I think Jameson Williams, a couple more of these, and we're going to start having to have conversations about wide receiver too. But right now, I would say flex. He's a push flex right now, I would say. If you really don't have anybody else, I would go with Jameson Williams at flex. But I do think this is a good pick, and I am excited to see what JMO does in the future.
Yeah, and then yeah, like you said though, if JMO just continues to do what he's doing, we might be talking about him for the next few weeks to come. But this next guy, this fourth guy we're gonna highlight is Mr. Joe Mixon from the Houston Texans. I think Joe Mixon, many believe he was a good fit for Houston, but a lot, didn't think he would get off to this incredible start. Mixon erupted on Sunday for that opening win against the Colts. He racked up 160 rushing yards. And
Yeah.
he's on pace now for 2,700 rushing yards on the season. And if you got a guy like that on your fantasy team, I'm telling you, he's running back one. And if you don't think so, then definitely like you're insane because this guy Joe Mixon, I think had 20, I think it was 25 fantasy points week one, and he just went insane. And Max, what do you think about Joe Mixon?
Yeah, I think Joe Mixon is 100% a running back one. Not only a running back one, possibly the running back one after week one. Obviously we'll have to see how CMC does when he gets back from injury, as well as Nick Chubb. But Joe Mixon, first, here's the big number for me. It's not even the yards, and it's not the one touchdown that he scored. It's the carries. 30 carries. The most out of running back by a lot in the NFL. What's one of the biggest things that I always tell you that I look at in fantasy is who are the guys, not only that guy, but who are the guys behind you in
Yeah.
the depth chart. And the Texans really don't got anybody else. That's why they signed him. Damian Pierce has just fell off the face of the earth, and I think they have like Agumbawale, I think is one of their other running backs. But
Yeah.
outside of those two, there's really nobody else to worry about. They don't really run a two running back system. Joe Mixon is going to get basically 80%, 90% of the workload. So if you're looking for a guy that's 100% going to get his floor right now is probably the highest out of any player in the NFL right now because of how many carries he's going to get for the Texans. And so, yeah, if you're Joe Mixon and you have him on your fantasy team, start him at running back one every week until he proves otherwise. I know in the Bengals, last year I had him on the Bengals, and he started out the season really slow just because he couldn't score touchdowns. In the air, he's a little bit of a threat, but sometimes he does have a tendency to lull in the receiving game. But towards the end of the year, I traded him because he was performing pretty badly. And then right after I traded him, guess what happened? 20 points, 25 points, 30 points.
Yeah.
He's a guy that can catch and stride. So I say you need to start him 100% at running back one every week until he starts having consecutive, 10, 5, points, 15 points. Then you need to start being like, okay, we'll start talking about flex running back two. But no matter what, he should be in your rotation 100%.
Yeah, definitely Joe Mixon. I think one of the best picks of this week one recap. And another good pick that's going to close out the segment is I'm going to go with Mr. Isaiah Likely. No, I don't think anybody had them or had him as their starter, and they did not think he was going to do that good. But he had a great game against the Kansas City Chiefs. Almost would have finished with 30 points if he would have caught the ball at the end of the game, but still 26.1 points. That's probably might be one of his best stat lines to start a season ever. And it's hard to ignore, especially when you consider how much he was used in the offense in that first game. And Max, what was your thoughts about Isaiah Likely?
Yeah, save the best for last, huh? Isaiah
Yeah.
Likely was the breakout player this week, and it wasn't even close for real. In our 20-man league, which if y'all are like fantasy casuals out there listening, a 20-man league, if you're not on a team in a 20-man league, usually you're a player that's not very good. Let's just be honest. We have no QBs right now on waivers, and there's 32 starting QBs. So
We have some decent running backs and receivers. That's about it.
yeah, some decent ones, but no running back ones, on their team or anything like that. No tight end ones, really. And so Isaiah Likely might have not only just had the best game of his life, but might have just vaulted himself immediately to tight end one in the Ravens organization. You look at Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews is a guy that a lot of people were saying, oh, this is going to be like his comeback year because he's had a lot of injuries the last couple of seasons. And he's been one of those kind of reliable guys, not only for Lamar, but for fantasy owners of him. He was projected 12. I think he had 3 points, whereas Isaiah Likely was projected 5, and he ended up walking away with 26. So, that being said, outlook for Isaiah Likely, well, I think it's pretty high, pretty likely that he's going to be pretty good the rest of the year. I mean, you look at 9 receptions, that's second most out of any receivers, tight ends, or wide receiver. 111 yards at 7th in the league, and then 1 touchdown as well. I think that Isaiah Likely right now, I think, is a flex. If you have Isaiah Likely, I think you should start him at flex.
That's me. I have that
Yeah,
flex.
exactly. I don't think I think there are other tight ends that are better just because this is one performance at the start of the season. But I'll tell you what, you have that type of performance against a defense that just won the Super Bowl the last 2 seasons. There's going to be some people looking like, okay, who is this cat? And that's Isaiah Likely. So start him at flex. If you have no other options at tight end, start him at tight end.
Yeah, and I mean Isaiah Likely, I can't wait to see what he does this weekend. And they're playing the Raiders, so we'll see what happens. Isaiah Likely's on my team, so I featured 3 people on my team in this segment. Kind of got to get him going,
Yeah,
got to get him hyped up so I can win
no
the
bias.
win the 20-man league. I'm gonna win it totally. Max is not gonna win it. Me, Taylor, and Max all got week 1 wins, so our teams are looking great. But that's gonna do it for fantasy breakdown. Next week we'll be recapping week 2. Hopefully we all come out with wins again, and we can be 2-0 in this 20-man league and get things going and all be in the playoffs. And, I'll win obviously because I'm commish, so I'm obviously gonna win. But Max's team, bummy team. Anyway, that's gonna do it. And Max, now it looks like we're going on to your picks, the
Yeah.
fast, fast picks.
So yeah, so we this is how we always used to end off the show on our old show, the Tigers Den. Shout out to y'all that listened to that one.
Hey y'all, Future Taylor popping in. Just want to shout out our Instagram real quick at GameTimePod_official. We're going to be posting graphics, episode updates. If we miss an episode, we're going to let y'all know. It's a great way to see what's going on in the lives of us 3 too. If y'all want to drop us a follow as well, our ats are on there. But enjoy the rest of this episode, and we cannot wait to start having 2 episodes a week.
Rapid fire, we're going to call this rapid fire picks, and we are going to be picking 26 games. Don't worry, we're going to set a timer that I'm going to have on my phone, and we're going to see how fast we can do this, and we're going to try and break the record each week. And yeah, so see the timer right there. I'm going to click start after I start the screen record, and hopefully Taylor, the best editor on YouTube, please leave this in or use the screen record that I send you and put it on the screen as we are going to go ahead and get it started. And now we are going. So we're going to go ahead and get started off in the college football world. We got 10 games, starting off with the college game day game. LSU versus South Carolina. I got LSU in this one. I think LSU has a more dominant offense. And Reese, who do you got?
I'm gonna go with South Carolina actually.
Oh wow, okay.
I'm gonna go with the upset on this one.
Gotcha. All right. Memphis and Florida State is our next matchup. I'm going to go with Memphis to actually get the upset here. I think Memphis will really be able to take over in this game. I think Seth Hennigan is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the country, and I just think DJU is not the answer for the Seminoles. Who do you got between FSU and Memphis?
I'm gonna go with Memphis as well, Max. I'm gonna say that Memphis has a high-powered offense, and DJU just doesn't find his receivers, and I'm gonna take the Memphis Tigers in this one.
All right, next game we got Texas A&M at Florida. This game is going to be very interesting, I think. A lot of people were telling me, oh, you got to pick Texas A&M this one. I'm going to go with the Gators to actually win this one at home. I think DJ Lagway is one of the most promising quarterbacks for the Florida Gators that we've seen in a while. And who do you got in this game? I got the Gators.
I'm gonna go against you, man. I'm gonna go against the Aggies because DJ Lagway played the University of Sanford. I think Auburn High School could beat that team. But anyway, yeah, I do take Texas A&M here, even though they did lose to Notre Dame. I say Texas A&M's defense is too much for that Florida offense, and Texas A&M pulls off the win in the swamp.
All right, next we got Wazoo at Washington. rivalry game early on in the season. Both these teams undefeated so far. I'm going to have to go with the Huskies here. I do think Will Rogers has performed pretty well, although it's been against basically junior highs up to this point. But I do think Washington at home, they're actually playing in Lumen Field, which is kind of weird. I think there's like construction being done to their home stadium. But anyways, playing in that ruckus crowd that's already known to bring a lot of fans for the Seahawks, I think it'll bring it for the Huskies. So I got Washington winning this game. Who do you got between Wazoo and WashU?
I'm going with Wazoo. Wazoo, this is
Wow.
not the same Washington team.
Agree.
This is not the same Washington team from last year, and Wazoo's going to prove that. I think Wazoo gets a big win and goes 3-0, and that's going to be a good start for the Cougars because, maybe they can make a little college football playoff push. I'm just saying.
Oh, wow. As the Pac-2 team, unlikely. But anyways, we're going to move on to West Virginia at Pitt. This is also a rivalry. I remember I watched, I think it was Keaton Slovis and JT Daniels playing this game a couple years ago. It's pretty exciting. Those two are not in the college football anymore, thank goodness. But the Mountaineers are 1-1, and Pitt is 2-0. I'm actually going to go with the Panthers here against West Virginia. I think they win it at home. I think they came out with a big win against Cincinnati. The way they were able to come back into the game, great for culture. Who do you got between the Panthers and the Mountaineers?
I'm going to go with the Panthers. Like you said, I just don't see West Virginia did not impress me at all last week or the week before. And I think the Panthers had a very impressive comeback win against Cincinnati. So I'm going to take the Panthers at home in this one.
Yeah, now we're going to move on to App State versus East Carolina. East Carolina 2-0, App State 1-1. The Pirates are coming into this game. I think very confident, being 2-0 up to this point. App State, very demoralizing loss against Clemson. But I'm going to go with East Carolina to win this one at home. I'm not going to lie. I think App State lost a good bit from last year. This is not the same App State team that beat Texas A&M a couple years ago. And I think East Carolina is a very well-coached team that has been able to knock off some teams in the past, and I think they'll do that this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I sadly got to go against the Mountaineers here. I got to go with East Carolina. I think East Carolina's just been great so far this season, 2-0 to start the season, while App State did get blown out last week by Clemson, and I just see East Carolina absolutely beating the crap out of the Mountaineers.
And now we're going to move to the Big Ten. Indiana at UCLA. Indiana coming into this game 2-0, as well as UCLA also coming into this game 2-0. Although UCLA, I will say, has been very underwhelming up to this point, whereas Indiana just beat a team by 74. That is why I'm going to go with the Hoosiers to win on the road against UCLA. I think that Kurt Cignetti, their coach, Indiana's the hire from James Madison, was one of the best hires, and I think he gets it done on the road here against the Bruins, who are very mid. So who do you got between Indiana and UCLA?
I'm just going to say one thing. Hoosiers! The Hoosiers going to win. They're going to be 3-0. Actually, they're going to start out 5-0. I told Max this a few weeks ago. Indiana's going to start out 5-0. And I think this Indiana team is just going to be great against UCLA. We saw the game against Hawaii. Did not look good at all. I think this Indiana team pulls out a big win traveling from God knows where. It's like very far. The travel mileage that they have is very far. So I do think Indiana wins this game.
Yeah, so we both think that Kurt Cignetti gets a big win for him and his program. Now we're going to move to the Big 12. We got UCF at TCU. I really wanted to pick UCF to win this game because I am claiming them as my new team once I move to Orlando. They are the closest college to me to Full Sail that plays D1 football. And so I'm going to go, but I have to go with TCU in this game, though. I think ultimately what came to this decision is KG Jefferson has just not been as impressive as we thought he would be through 2 games. He's been 19 for 21, but he only has 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. Why are you looking at me like that for, Reese? Who do you got between the Knights and the Horned Frogs?
I'm going to actually go against your pick here. I'm going to go with the Gus Bus. Gus Malzahn's going to get it done with UCF. And I think KJ Jefferson, gets that offense going here against TCU in this conference game. And I think the UCF Knights will come out with a win at TCU.
Well, you got 2 more here on the slate for college football. Then we move to NFL. Colorado at Colorado State, the game that had everybody staying up to 1 a.m. last year. But Colorado this time going on the road. Cue that Shadur Sanders song. But no, the Buffaloes on the road against the Rams. and I think that's what you're looking up right now. But anyways, no, the Buffaloes, the Dion show going on the road against the Rams. I think that Colorado does win this game, although I do think it's very close like last year, and I do think there might be some fights in the middle of this game because that's just how the Buffaloes are. Who do you got between Dion and Jay Norvell?
I'm gonna have to go with the Buffaloes, even though I don't think they'll have a good season. But I'm gonna have to go with the Buffaloes here. I think they'll blow out Colorado State. Colorado State just hasn't been that good this season. They played at FCS school last week, so I got Colorado winning this game big at Colorado State, but they might also like die in the process because Colorado State's fans are gonna just be so mad.
Yeah, hopefully Travis Hunter doesn't become a paraplegic like he did last year in that game. Anyways, Maryland on the road against Virginia. This is our last game. This is a Virginia team that I had no idea that they would be able to beat Wake Forest after they were down They were down 13 with like 5 minutes to go. I recommend watching the end of that game. It was crazy. The Cavaliers came back with almost minimal chances of doing so. And then Maryland, very disappointing week for them last week, losing to Michigan State team that looked awful against Florida Atlantic. But with all that being said, I'm actually going to go with the Maryland Terrapins to get the road win over Virginia. I think Maryland's coming to this game looking for a win against a Virginia team that I don't think is very good, even though they beat Wake Forest. But I think it's a close game, but I think the Terrapins do win. Who do you got between the Terps and the Cavs?
I'm gonna go with the Cavs here. I'm picking the upset. I say the Cavs start out 3-0. This is gonna be great for the program. I think University of Virginia is just, they might be coming back in football, and I think it's starting this year. And I think Virginia takes this game.
For sure going to be a fun one to watch. Now we're going to move to the pro leagues. We're going to go to the NFL. We're going to start off with some Thursday night football. The Bills at the Dolphins. We previewed it earlier. I said that the key to this game would be defense, and I do think that the Dolphins have a better defense than the Bills do. And so that being said, I think the Dolphins win this one at home. I think Tyreek Hill goes for 200 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns. Who do you got between the Fins and the Bulls?
I'm actually going to agree with you here. I'm going to say the Fins get a big win, and Tyreek Hill has a great game. And I think the Fins get a close win at home against the Bills.
Hopefully Hill doesn't get arrested on the way there this time. Now we're going to move on to the Sunday slate. We're going to go with the Saints at the Boys, the Cowboys. This is no bias at all. I've been looking at this game this entire week, and honestly, I'm going to go with the Saints to win this one on the road. I think they win it straight up. I think the Cowboys always do this. I can't tell if you're frozen or if you're just staying still. You look dead serious, frozen. Comment down below if you look frozen at this part of the video. But that being said, I think the Saints defense will be able to force some turnovers on Dak Prescott. Dak does have a tendency to get tunnel vision, especially when he's looking at CeeDee Lamb. And I think that'll happen a couple of times. I think Marshawn Lattimore will be able to lock up CD in his new contract, and I think the Saints win a big one on the road, and Who Dat Nation gets a big one for the people. Reese, who do you got between the Saints and the Boys?
I'm gonna go with the Boys here. I hope Dak does look at CD because I'm gonna be looking at CD. I'm gonna be glazing all game because I need CD to pop off in fantasy. I also need Alvin Kamara to pop off in fantasy. Shout out to you, Alvin Kamara. Don't come and kill me. But anyway, I'm gonna take Dallas here, and I think Dallas gets a big win at home against New Orleans.
Yeah, who would win in a fight between Kamara and Lamb? I think Kamara would, and I think he's already proved it. Anyway, we're going to move to the Bucs at the Lions. The Buccaneers at the Lions, a rematch of last year's NFC semifinals. And, the Buccaneers coming off a big win at home against the Washington Commanders, not the Redskins. Actually, they should still be the Redskins. And then the Lions, coming off a big win at home against the Rams in overtime. Very fun when I watched it at work. And I think the Lions are going to win this one at home. The fans will basically kill them if they don't. And so I think the Lions will win this one. Dan Campbell will have another Applebee's commercial. Who do you think wins between the Lions and the Bucs?
I think the Lions are going to win. I do think it will be close, but I think the Lions will kind of, make up for some of those mistakes they had against the Rams on Sunday Night Football. And I think they'll, show that high-powered defense that they really have. And they'll also show some of that offense as well. And yeah, looks like Dan Campbell's going to be in more Applebee's commercials, so go Lions.
Yeah, even though Baker is going to lead my fantasy team to victory, he's not going to lead his own team to victory. Now we're going to move on to the Colts at the Packers. This is a team that I said on yesterday's show. If y'all did not check it out, Game Time Episode 3 on all platforms right now. But I said the Colts, this is going to be a rebound game for them. and they go on the road against the Packers team who has basically a sped kid at quarterback. And so I'm going to need the Colts to win this one. I think they're going to win it by a lot. Anthony Richardson is going to make their defense look like a peewee team. Who do you got between the Colts and the Packs?
I'm gonna go with the Colts after what I saw from Anthony Richardson, just throwing the ball absolutely like it was a freaking missile. Like bro thought it was Iron Man, bro, and he was just throwing it down the field, just giving Alec Pierce every catch of his life there. I mean, Alec Pierce will never get another catch. But
Yeah,
I'm gonna get the Colts. I'm gonna get the Colts here, winning at Lambeau Field.
yeah, Malik Willis might as well be Malik, not Willis. Okay. All right, we're going to move on to the Jets at the Titans. And we got an old guy versus the new guy, but it turns out the new guy sucks. And I think the old guy will be able to wise up here and win on the road. Who do you got between the Jets and the Titans? I got the Jets.
I'm gonna take the Jets here. Will Levis gonna be on his knees again. I don't know what for this time, but yeah, I'm gonna take the Jets here.
Always. Yeah, I mean Will Levis with the funniest photo of all time, but not the best team of all time. Now we're going to go on to the 49ers at the Vikings. The 49ers come into this game as probably the best team in the NFL, not named the Chiefs. And the Vikings coming into this game just happy to be there. I'm going to go with the 49ers to win this one on the road. Who do you got between the Super Bowl runner-ups and the Vikings?
The 49ers, who are gonna be the Super Bowl champions, they will win this game. And Sam Diddy Darnold will, just not be that good, but I hope he's good so my fantasy take can be good. But 49ers, they're gonna win.
Yeah, Justin Jefferson, he has basically another sped kid throwing to him on offense. So we'll see what happens. All right, Seahawks at the Patriots. The Patriots look like they did when they were under Tom Brady. They're not going to look like that this week. The Seahawks are going to go on the road and beat the Patriots to death. Who do you got between the Seahawks and the Patriots?
I would say the Patriots if they had Game 7 LeBron, but they don't. So I'm gonna take the Seahawks here. I think Geno Smith, not gonna get a safety on a holding call this time. He's definitely gonna, improve from last week at the Patriots, and I think the Seahawks get a win here.
Yeah, Jacoby Brissett as your starting QB. Yeah, give me the other team. Now we're going to move on to the Giants at the Commanders. Good golly, I do not want to watch this game, but I'm going to have to because that's kind of my job. The Giants, they have Daniel Jones. I'm going to go with the Commanders to win here. Who do you got between the Commanders and the Giants?
I'm gonna go with the Commanders here. I think Jaden Daniels is just outstanding. I think he had a great game. Those rushing TDs he had against the Buccaneers. So I'm gonna take the Commanders here.
Yeah, the Commanders might not win much this year, but I do think Jane Daniels will win Rookie of the Year. Now we got the Chargers on the road against the – I got the Chargers winning here. Who do you got between the Chargers and yeah?
I'm gonna take and yeah. And yeah is gonna win because Bryce Young is gonna the ball back. He's gonna gain the fans' trust back by getting that offense going. And I think the and yeahs are gonna win.
Once Bryce Young grows 3 inches in both spots, then we'll talk. Now
once Alvin Kamara doesn't get arrested, we'll talk. Okay.
Now we're gonna move on to the Browns of the Jaguars. I think the Browns are as shit as their team color is. And I think Deshaun Watson might touch every single female trainer on that sideline. Give me the Jaguars to win this game. Who do you think is going to win between the Diddlers and the Jaguars?
I'm gonna go with the Diddlers here because I do think over under Deshaun Watson touches 5 women at the game. But definitely I do think the Diddlers are taking this one against the Jaguars.
Yeah, well, if the Browns win. If the Browns win, hopefully Deshaun Watson doesn't get a win and he's put in jail, please, right now. Now we're going to move on to the Raiders.
Massages.
Now we're going to move on to the Raiders at the Ravens. The only thing with the Raiders are going to be rating it by the end of this game is the concession stand because they are not going to win this game. The Ravens are going to beat them down to death. Who do you got between the Lamar Jacksons and the Garner Minshews?
I'm going to take the Lamar Jacksons here. I'm going to say the Lamar Jacksons, just throw Hawk Tua that thing down the field. But anyway, I think Lamar Jackson's got this one in the bag.
Yeah, Devontae Adams is going to be screaming "fuck myself" 5 times this time. Once he sees all the throws from Minshew. Now we're going to go to the Rams at the Cardinals. Everybody called the Cardinals good. After they played a decent game against the Bills, not a great game. You know what I say? Kyler Murray is very short. So I'm going to go the Rams here on the road. I think that Matthew Stafford shows how old he is, but he still wins. And who do you got between the Rams and the Cards?
I'm going to take the Rams here because Matthew Stafford is going to be like, F it, we ball. Cooper Cup's down there somewhere, so he's going to catch it. And I think the Rams are going to win this one.
Yeah, Nakua might be hurt, but fuck it, a white guy's down there somewhere. So now we're going to move on to the Steelers at the Broncos. The Steelers might actually be the answer for Justin Fields. Or not, it's not that. It's just TJ Watt's that guy. Give me the Steelers to win this one on the road. I think Bo Nix will not know what's coming. Oh, wait, what is it coming? It's TJ Watt coming into space. Who do you got between the Steelers and the Broncos?
I'm going to take the Steelers. I think Chris Boswell, will have majority of the points for the Steelers. We saw it last week. I think Chris Boswell will have a touchdown pass thrown. They might as well just not start Russell Wilson and Justin Fields because obviously they can't score. So Chris Boswell, hopefully you guys can get more fantasy points this week with Chris Boswell. 45 is what I'm looking for him as a kicker. He's going to get about 90 points as a kicker. So Bo Nix just not going to do good.
Yeah, Chris Boswell and Jake Moody right now fighting for fantasy MVP.
No, actually MVP of the league, like the whole league, just
Yeah.
NFL.
Exactly. So Bengals at the Chiefs next up. I've been saying all week, Joe Burrow, he looked ass the first game, but he always does this. He's going to look better this game. Not this year. You fooled me once, shame on me. Fooled me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, then fuck you. The Chiefs are going to win. Give me Kansas City at home. Who do you got between the Chiefs, the Super Bowl champions, and the Bengals?
We know this game's going to be good because Bengals and Chiefs, obviously. But I'm going to take the Chiefs here. You've seen the pictures. Mahomes kissed the refs and stuff. It's not going to happen this game. Over here it's just not gonna. It's not going to happen.
You sent me.
Yeah, I honestly think that the refs will not be kissed in this game. I do see the Chiefs winning this game. And then there might be a little bit of kissing after. We'll see.
Yeah, as long as Jackson Mahomes is on that sideline, there is definitely going to be kissing. Now we're going to move on to the Bears at the Texans. We got 2 young quarterbacks here, just how Deshaun Watson likes it. And so I'm going to have to go with the Texans winning this one here. CJ Stroud's got 1 year on him. That's 1 year more than Deshaun Watson likes it. So give me the Texans to win it here by a lot. Who do you got between the Texans and the Bears?
I'm going to go with the Texans. I do think Deshaun Watson will be in attendance. Obviously, he won't be watching the game. He'll be touching a lot of people. But anyway, I do think the Texans get a win here against the Bears. And yeah, Deshaun Watson, hopefully you don't touch anybody there because, CJ Stroud needs a lot of momentum going in the next game. He can't have those fans injured.
Yeah, this is becoming my favorite segment so far. But you know what's Deshaun Watson's favorite segment? The happy ending. Anyways, we're gonna move on to the Falcons at the Eagles. Give me the Eagles to win this one at home. Both of these dirty birds are pretty dirty. Their fans are gonna be dirty. And this one's in Philadelphia, so they'll probably be up by 7 at halftime and get booed out of the stadium. But who do you got between the fighting Jalen Hurts and the fighting old man torn ACL Kirk Thuggins is?
I do think this will be a good game. I think, since Michael Vick played on both teams, I do think Michael Vick will be in attendance. There might be some dog fights, but who knows? It's a bird fight this time, so Michael Vick might be betting a different parlay on this one. So I think the Eagles win. Michael Vick's got the vote.
And well, yeah, this will for sure be a dogfight. Michael Vick, chill out. Anyways, that's going to do it for Rapid Fire, and we got it just over 20 minutes and 11 seconds for 26 games. So a little less than a minute per game. But that's going to do it for Game Time today from myself, as well as Reese Kinder, as well as our greatest editor on YouTube, currently at a concert right now. This is going to be, that's it for the show. So we're going to see y'all next week. Drop every Wednesday, every Thursday. I know last week we didn't drop on Thursday, but we're here now, aren't we? So we're here, and we're here. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at GameTimePod_official. And yeah, with that being said, let's get to our question of the day. We always have a question of the day. Who is going to have a more convincing win this weekend in college football? Is it going to be Missouri at home against Boston College? Is it going to be Alabama on the road against Wisconsin? Or is it going to be LSU on the road against South Carolina? Who will win by the most points?
I'm going to say Missouri at home against Boston College. I feel like Missouri's going to win by about 20 at home.
I'm going to have to go with Alabama. I think Jalen Milroe is going to run for 500 yards. And, yeah, that's going to do it for the show. And, yeah, y'all have a great day.
Thanks for listening to this week's edition of Game Time. Be sure to check out our episodes coming out every Monday and Thursday. We appreciate all the support. Also be sure to check out our Instagram at GameTimePod_official. See y'all next episode.